Try RotoWire today, free for 10 days. Get our premium tools, rankings, analysis, and breaking news alerts. No credit card required. Go to rotowire.com/try.
Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I'm Clay Link, here with RotoWire.com's Todd Zola, also of MastersBall.com. Great to be talking with you, Todd. It is the two-star pitchers show. We'll be looking ahead at two-star starters for the week of April 26th. Also wanted to just run over the Stake League pickups from last night, but real quick, how are you, Todd?
I'm doing well. Did you get a job with the Yankees?
No, I am decked out in black, though.
Well, no, you're also clean-shaven.
Yeah,
I missed it last week.
Every now and then, it's time to change it up.
All right, well, good. You got no playoff beard, huh?
Basically, it's the Rugi Odor transition, just looking like a weird baby.
Well, hopefully it gets a little warmer so you don't be sweating as much.
Yeah, no kidding. It is hot, and it is not hot here in Wisconsin.
No.
I was going to go take a walk the other day, and it was snowing. So
yep.
But yeah, we're kind of running a little low on time just because I have to do the XM show here coming up. So we'll power through a lot of this. But real quick, the Stake League pickups from last night. Todd is not in the Stake League, by the way. I keep looking up at this camera. I'm using my own laptop today. But Adolis Garcia was the top pickup for $24. Coolest bat flip I've maybe ever seen the other day. He knew he got all of it. He also robbed Ohtani of a homer and had a double in that game. So really big one. 24% of the budget was what it took to get Adolis Garcia in this 16-team league. Do you have an idea? Can you give us an idea what your projection kind of looks like for Garcia?
Not really sure. That seems pretty steep, though. Or does seem pretty steep on a team like Texas, which is kind of a what have you done for me lately team. That when he's hot, he'll play, but if he cools down, they've got a lot of movable parts. So I guess I'm not familiar with the league. That seems pretty aggressive, chasing him. He's a few years ago, another former Cardinal outfielder. The Cardinals seem to give away outfielders left and right. But I don't know if there's a thing. I don't think there's stuff in his track record to warrant nearly 25% of your budget. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, late bloomer type. I think he played in Cuba for several years professionally. Yeah, I mean, I kind of get it because it does look like Leody Taveras is probably at the end of his playing time rope.
For now.
It looks like Garcia's a capable center fielder. So, yeah, I think that was a little steep, but I kind of get it in a league like this where there are a lot of hitting injuries and 2 util spots, 5 outfielders. If you want them, you're going to have to pay up this weekend. That's just kind of a heads up.
I think you can afford one aggressive move in almost all the leagues, and then you kind of have to be conservative. So if you hit on it, great, because like we keep there's not it's that conundrum. There's not a lot of data to judge, but you have to make moves because you need players. So you just make the best guess you can, and he's striking out a lot, which I don't like. He's got a power speed combination, Garcia, but he hasn't run yet. Well, he's been caught twice. So you're looking up at your camera. I'm looking at his stats and kind of going, ugh, for those that can see us on YouTube.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, James kind of was prescient with suggesting him in deep leagues last week. And
he's going to play, which is over half of the battle. Right? I mean,
I added him to my top 300 at the 180 range-ish. So that may be a little high, but
maybe. And in my thick skull, I need to get away from this. Is not Aramis Garcia, the bad catcher. This is Adolis Garcia, the I don't want to say failed prospect, but the former Cardinals prospect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so definitely, I mean, he was on our watch for deeper leagues. If you're in shallower leagues and you want him, I mean, he's a guy who does look like he's going to play a lot, but he'll be pretty popular too. So you may have to fight for him. That was a $24 ad. Then the next highest ad was me with Pavin Smith at 11, dropping Julian Merriweather. I just like what I've seen from Smith. I mean, leading off on that team, hitting a bunch of not hitting for much power, and they were just in Great American Ballpark. But I like him atop the order. And I also have Andrew Vaughn, who, I think Pavin Smith's going to go into that spot, and then we'll see what happens with Vaughn.
Yeah, I'm not saying this because we're podcasting together. I like that move a lot more than the Garcia move. Pavin Smith is playing, like you say, he's playing some outfield. He's playing some center field for Arizona. You mentioned the power. He's hitting the ball. He's not hitting. He's hitting the ball on the ground. He's not lofting it. The power can come, whether it will or not, I don't know. But if he's just a guy that's going to be a gap hitter from the leadoff spot, he's going to, he's not going to hit the home runs. Maybe, I don't know if you need home runs, but he should be a positive contributor on that team.
Yeah, absolutely. Then Guillermo Heredia was added. He had a big game earlier this week, but kind of a career 4th, 5th outfielder type. Michael Fulmer, Jordan Luplow, Dom Nunez, Taylor Widener had a pretty good outing against the Reds yesterday. I was kind of impressed. I had a bid in on him, but I think it was like 4, and then he was 1 for 6. Joaquim Soria was for 6. Then I added Stephen Crichton for 5. I know Crichton had X-rays come back negative, but he at least was the guy in the short term. We'll see if it's Soria or Crichton moving forward.
Yeah, so thinking about, I like the Dom Nunez move. I thought Diaz would be the primary guy, but Nunez seems to be filling the heavier side of platoon there in Colorado. And I think it was Michael Fulmer. I think it's worth taking a shot. Again, he's not Carson Fulmer. Zola, get that out of your head. He's actually pretty good. So I kind of like the shot there on Michael Fulmer.
Yeah, I mentioned that Taylor Widener had a pretty good outing opposite Jeff Hoffman the other day, and then of course Carson Fulmer comes into the game and just destroys the lead. Or I guess it wasn't much of a lead at the time, but he just got rocked. So that was a lot of fun. One thing I wanted to note, not with these pickups, but in another league, I did drop Ke'Bryan Hayes because we only have 2 IL spots in that league, and I have Soto and Gavin Lux, and Ke'Bryan Hayes just had a setback. So I think that's a decision a lot of fantasy players are going to have to make this weekend.
Yeah, I've got him only on a Otno league, and he's on the 10-day DL, so he still counts against my roster. But it's so deep that I'm not worried about it. I can keep stash because the reserves are so deep. I can still keep a decent roster. So aggravated his wrist is what we're seeing, right? And I think they're going to let it calm down, and he'll see a specialist in a couple days. But I guess that leaves Phillip Evans in the lineup a little bit longer. No, I mean that's the replacement. He's in a mixed league, probably still not interested. But if you grabbed him in an NL only, you're continuing to be a little bit happy.
Yeah, I heard on it with Ke'Bryan Hayes, like he was traveling with the team, was looking close to return, but then he was taking BP on one of those high velo machines, and it just aggravated. So now he's going to go see a specialist. I was really excited about this kid too this year. It's just a bummer, and maybe in like TGFBI, a 15-team league, maybe I'll have to hold on. But the hitter injuries have impacted me. It's been pretty tough, and I've compounded those issues by stashing Jared Kelenic. It's not always fun to stash, and I've definitely left myself open to that with steering into that early stash.
Well, but, hopefully soon you'll be rewarded. Alex Kirilloff's coming up today.
That's a big one, yeah.
Hopefully, as is Nick Gordon, who really isn't. He's one of those all-glove types that may develop the bat, although it's been a little while now and the bat's still lagging, but we'll see. But yeah, so Kirilloff's up. We'll see what Kelenic does.
Yes, a no to the IL, and that kind of gives them a perfect excuse to bring Alex Kirilloff back up. Do you expect him to mostly play first in place of Sano?
I would think so. Yeah. James is better to answer. I think he's played a little bit of both.
Played a little bit of first in 2019.
Yeah, he could probably handle the position. As we've talked about, I think, and as I've been watching, first base play has not been very good this year. Footwork and scoops. Defense in general, to me, looks pretty poor. And I don't know what that might be. I mean, I know the shift is helping numbers, et cetera, but I've seen some So kind of what I consider to be poor defense going on up there. So yeah, the Twins we got on the depth chart, we've got Estudillo and Garver listed as the 3 and 4. So it looks like Kirilloff's in there pretty much every day.
Yeah, and that leaves Arise for either third base if Donaldson needs a day or left field. And then when Sado's back, Kirilloff could move out to the left. So yeah, it's exciting. Hopefully the first of many big names to come. I mean,
yeah,
I'm looking at Bobby Witt maybe debuting soon. Maybe a guy like Alek Manoah. I know the Mariners kind of put the skids on Logan Gilbert,
right?
Saying they want him to pitch some at AAA. So, but yeah, I think this is going to be an exciting weekend. I could see a few more call-ups to come, and then probably a lot more next week.
AAA begins May 4th. At least that's that's the number in my head. I thought I looked it up earlier in the week because I was curious. So that's a Sunday. That doesn't. Well, it's. I guess it's. I'll look it up as we're talking, but that's my recollection is AAA begins May 4th.
Nice. Yeah, I know. The teams say they want some live reps, and a guy like Kirilloff really didn't do very well in spring training, so maybe he, in theory, could benefit from some more reps. But all the reports from the alternate site last year with Kirilloff were glowing, and they brought him up for their final postseason game. So They clearly liked what they saw at the alternate site, and I'm not reading too much into that slow start in the spring because I think Kirilloff, the body of work he put together in the minors, speaks to just how good of a player he could be. And looking at James Anderson's top 400, he has Kirilloff as his 12th ranked prospect. So
nice.
Happy Alex Kirilloff Day.
Yeah, just so people don't think I'm a total moron, or more people think I'm a moron. The 4th is a Tuesday, and it is the beginning of the AAA season. So it's kind of 2 opening days because I'm gonna be following the AAA a little closer because there's a team 20 minutes from me this year in Worcester, Mass.
Oh, yeah?
Looking forward to getting my second poke next week, and maybe the first thing I'll do out in public is take on the Worcester Red Sox or whatever they're calling themselves.
I was thinking about taking a drive down to Cincinnati actually this week because I put it into my Google map, and I guess I had it in my head that it was a further drive than it was because I used to live a couple hours north of Madison. But it's only 6.5 hours from Madison to Great American Ballpark. So
that's a fan.
I talked myself out of it because I thought it's been this long. Just get yourself vaccinated, you idiot, before you go sit amongst a bunch of people.
Only 6.5 hours. That's a real fan. I think only 45 minutes is what I hear around. Only 6.5 hours. That's nice.
I mean that's not too bad up here in the South. Obviously, I could get to Miller Park a lot sooner, but Great American Ballpark is underrated. But let's get to these two-start starters for the week of April 26th, Todd. We'll start with, and we'll be tracking these, and I will run through them all after we're done here. Grading on a 0 to 5 scale, if you're unfamiliar. Basically, if we have 5 leagues, how many of those are we starting this player in theory? We'll start with Merrill Kelly, 7.71 ERA so far. He gets versus San Diego versus Colorado, so a couple home starts. Versus Colorado is real nice. Versus San Diego, a little scarier, but I think I might give Merrill Kelly like a 1.
I'm a Merrill Kelly fan, and he had the thoracic outlet, which, kind of puts the kibosh long term, but short term, I'm going to go as high as a 2. I'm going to go with a 2. We'll see where he ranks on players I'll pick up, but I have him in several leagues already, and I will probably use him.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I hear you there. I got a 1, but I got you marked down to 2 here. Yeah. I mentioned Taylor Widener. I'm probably not starting him there, but a 2.82 ERA. And again, from the eye test yesterday, he did give up a couple of homers late, but he was in the 6th as he was kind of tiring a little bit. 2 of them were in the 6th. And he's got an 18 to 6 K to walk in 22 to 3rd innings. 26 years old, not especially sexy Taylor Widener, but good results on the field so far.
Yeah, and interesting test home against San Diego, so we'll see what happens.
And, of course, since he's starting Wednesday, that would line him up for 2 the following week at Miami at the Mets. So
it's not terrible.
We mentioned Austin Gomber last week. That's not a horrible one to preview for the following week in Widener. For the Braves, Charlie Morton, Ian Anderson versus the Cubs at Toronto. So that, of course, means at Dunedin, TD Ballpark. Charlie Morton, he's getting up there. Skills are diminishing a little bit, but I still think he's probably like a 4. And Ian Anderson, frankly, he might be a 5 at this point.
Morton, I have Morton ranked a little higher. I do think he's a 4. Anderson, well, it's a little higher. They're 8th and 13th overall. I mean, they're basically the same. I'll go 4 for each. I don't know that Anderson yet is worth 5. I want to keep 5 as special. Even though I'm playing him in all 5 leagues, hypothetical leagues, I want to keep 5 for the elite.
Yeah, 5's kind of like the refractor. I don't collect cards anymore. I haven't gotten into the card wave, this latest baseball card wave, but yeah, it's like that special.
I mean, Toronto's still dangerous, right? I mean, they're still.
You talked me into lowering him too. I'm gonna go.
All right, okay. No, well,
you're right.
We're using him. And
Plus,
he hasn't had one stinker, so he's still not above it. So the Cubs are going to get hot too. They're beginning to, but the Cubs, they're the underlying metrics as a team, their BABIP and some other stuff, they're due for an upswing.
Did you see that tweet that I think Jeff tweeted or retweeted yesterday about how Javi Baez hasn't had a hit on a 4-seamer since like last year, August?
Yeah,
I don't even know how that's possible.
Right. I mean, he's got like 5 steals, 5 homers, and and everything else is a strikeout. It's just weird.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I know it's kind of a thing he does, going to the bat opposite-handed whenever a position player's on the mound, but for a guy hitting like he is, I mean, probably shouldn't like stunt like that. Probably just get a base hit for your fantasy player. Don't fly out to left field batting left-handed. For the Baltimore Orioles, Bruce Zimmerman, Dean Kremer versus the Yankees at Oakland. The Yankees don't seem like that scary of a matchup right now. Anyway, they could always get hot, but that team's like kind of a mess. I still feel like both of these guys are. I mean, Zimmerman probably a 1, Kremer a 0.
It's an aggressive one.
Yeah.
I'm probably they're in the 0 range for me, but I can see the 1. I'm not the Yankees again. Their batting average and balls in play as a team is just way low, and it's not all bad luck. They're not hitting homers either, but
they're a bunch of like lumbering, just huge guys. It seems like, and not a lot of team speed or
right. But they're also not hitting homers. So, I mean, Stanton has. I mean, they have like Judge and Stanton have like 4 and 3 or 5 and 4. It's not terrible, but they're not crushing it either. And then Sanchez only has 2. Torres, did he get one last night? He may have gotten his first last night. I know he had a decent night.
Hits.
Yeah, so I mean, he still hasn't gone deep yet. So they're, because they're due isn't a reason, not to start Zimmerman. I just don't like Zimmerman all that much.
Yeah, so I got a 1 for Zimmerman, a 0 for Kremer, but that is a pretty risky 1.
Okay.
Now, Todd, I'd love to get your thoughts on Garrett Richards because he lines up for 2 next week at the Mets, at Texas. 6.48 ERA. Do you know what's wrong, or is it just the skills not really being that great?
I tweeted last night that by the eye test, Nick Pivetta looked really good. He looked calm and had great location, mixing up his stuff. Richards, the body language isn't bothering me so much, but he just can't find it. Last outing, he couldn't locate anything. Sometimes he thought, well, I can't throw my fastball, I'm going to throw the curve or whatever. None of the pitches worked. It was just one of those, he was just struggling trying to find it. He's better than that. Maybe he's hiding an injury. I don't know. I am optimistic that the skills will come to the forefront, especially the Red Sox have done a pretty good job as far as that sort of thing with Christian Vasquez and the coaches. But I come from I don't want to bench a guy because I'm afraid I'll miss the good starts that make up the bad starts. If this is a 1-start week, I'd probably bench Richards. But man, Mets in Texas, I'm not really overly scared on paper, So I'm probably going to get burned and start Richards this week. But I can't point to this and say, yeah, he's going to get better because he's just struggling with the command and control. And he doesn't have any pitch he can sort of put in his back pocket and use.
Randomly, he was the first guy I saw this year in any live setting. He was, the first spring training game I watched was Garrett Richards against the Braves, I think, and he just didn't look good right from the jump. So I've been a little skeptical, but you're right. This is a pretty good two-step to get right. A couple good pitching venues, and so I got him as a 2, but it sounds like you're leaning more like 3-ish.
I'm leaning a 3, but am I separating my bias? It's not just Red Sox fandom. I've been a fan of Richards. I mean, I've been an unabashed fan of Garrett Richards with all the injuries, and it happened to be in Fenway Park where he hurt the Achilles, right? It was he covering out for a space was in Fenway Park, but maybe he needs the demons excised or something. I don't know. Both these games were on the road, so maybe that's it. It's the Fenway Park aura, but not giving up yet. If he's healthy, I think he'll come around. But man, it's going to be an uncomfortable start.
Now, speaking of uncomfortable starts, how about that segue? You mentioned it earlier, the Cubs. Zach Davies and Trevor Williams. I know Trevor Williams, like as of before his last start, had yet to give up a barrel, technically, but he had been knocked around a little bit. So he'd given up 10 hits in a game, but not a single barrel yet. But then last night, not terrible, but he went 5, gave up 2 earned runs against the Mets. Just not a guy I'm excited about in fantasy, Trevor Williams. Zach Davies, I'm still holding out some hope for. At Atlanta, at Cincinnati, couple tough road matchups. Zach Davies, if I drafted him and I did in a few spots, I'm probably turning him loose. I'm going to give him a 3, but Trevor Williams will probably give a 1.
I'm going to go. I'm not a Davies fan. I'm just I don't like the stuff. I don't like the venues. I don't like the opponents. So Davies is a 1 for me. Williams is a 0. Alonso got him last night. Pete Alonso golfed it out. Right. I mean, took a low pitch. Credit to a buddy of mine, Paul Jones, has pointed out that Alonso's been crushing the ball lately. He's got like 7 balls with 110 miles per hour exit velocity in the past week. Before last night, we were talking DFS, and knock on wood, Paul used him last night. Because he went deep, but only 2 of those. I say only 2 of those hits were on fly balls. The rest were on line drives and ground balls. So he didn't quite get the results on hitting the ball 110 miles an hour. But Paul came through last night, and he did go deep.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Now for the Reds, Tyler Mahle has been great, but tough test on the road against the Dodgers, then at home against the Cubs. Love what I've seen from Mahle. He looks fantastic. I mean, starting him, he's not a 5. He's not that refractor, but I'd probably say a 4 even with that tough first matchup.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And listen, I mean, the Dodgers, the Padres have had a couple good pitchers against the Dodgers. Good pitching will stop good hitting, even today's game. Yeah,
Ryan Weathers last night.
Oh man, we're not going to get to talk. Well, we can talk about him because we can talk about him, but he's not lined up for 2. But I mentioned it in his first start earlier in the week where there was a different uniform. He looked like a kid in pajamas going out and pitching. I mean, he just looked like because he's like a little frumpy. They look like pajamas. They look like his uniform. Last night they had a different uniform on. It didn't look quite the same, but he doesn't care, right? I mean, he just goes out and throws the ball. I don't care who's up. It could be Mookie Betts. It could be who. It doesn't matter. He's just throwing the ball, and he's throwing. Walking off the field, they're giving him plaudits, and he just kind of, he looks like stoic. I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great. But anyway, yeah, no, Mahle, great test against the Dodgers and Cubs, and it's going to be a 4 for me. And it's weird. I was on Mahle, then it was because everybody was on him, kind of backed off, not because I didn't think he'd do well, just because the market price. But now he's showing the hype for the past couple of years could be worth it.
Yeah, he's kind of incrementally taken steps forward since Derek Johnson got there, and
yes,
Mahle looks to have fully kind of blossomed as a legitimate starter. By the way, after Amir Garrett gave up that 3-run lead earlier this week, that was so painful, especially after I was giving Josh Van Meter crap on our podcast earlier that day. Then he just shoved it down my throat with that 3-run game-tying homer off Garrett. But when Garrett allowed that, I was like, all right, Garrett's done in the closer role. But then David Bell gave him kind of a vote of confidence. Lucas Sims struggled yesterday. I don't have a clue who's going to be closing, but I actually have Lucas Sims and Garrett in the stake league, and I just benched Garrett for Sims. Like, I just don't think Garrett's going to be the closer. Maybe it's Antone. Maybe it's Sean Doolittle. I don't know.
Well, Doolittle has not looked good.
To read that picture right now.
Doolittle did not look good yesterday. I don't think he's looked good. How about Lucas Sims in that rain delay, throwing every ball to the dugout? I thought
that was such a bogus call to keep that game going.
Oh, it was. But
Just
that was kind of disrespectful on his end. I'm surprised there weren't repercussions. But maybe, it's one of those things where he had a right to do what he did, but it was still defying authority. So, maybe Chris List would love that sort of thing because that's Chris, right?
It was absurd,
defying authority. Sorry, Crab.
He could not grip the ball at all. I mean, he just walked in the game tying run, I think it was, or the go-ahead run, and he's just like, it was really frustrating to watch, and I could only imagine for him not being able to grip the ball, and it's like hailing. There were hail droplets bouncing off his cap.
Yeah, it's almost like when we were doing an auction or a salary cap draft on the internet, and something, you lose the internet. Let's roll that back, right? You almost wanted to restart the game without that last at bat that he walked in the run, because it would have been fairer that way. Yeah,
tough call. I know they didn't want to have to suspend it till the next day. That's ultimately what happened. But it was hailing. There were little hail pellets bouncing off his hat. So should have been called, or at least put into delay, suspended by an inning or two before that. But anyway, we'll move on to Cleveland. Zach Plesac's been brutal so far, Todd. 1-3 with a 6.75 ERA versus Minnesota at the White Sox. I'm not going to drop him yet because I feel like that might be an overreaction. But if he botches this two-step and kind of doesn't do well, then I think he would be on the chopping block. But right now I'm going to give him a 3. I know the homers have been an issue dating back to spring training. I don't know what's going on. He's suddenly got gopheritis. And I'm scared, but I'm probably starting him in most spots.
Does he pitch against the White Sox every week?
No kidding.
I think last week
he's already made 2 starts against them.
Yeah, and he had 3 last year out of 8 games. Could it be that he wasn't really that good to begin with?
I think you called that.
Well, I don't want to. It's too early to take a victory lap and all that kind of stuff. But I do think there could be something to that.
You called Savali over.
Well, and it's not like Savali's crushing it. He's pitching a little better, but I expected
yesterday.
Yeah, well, I expected a little more. Man, I'm gonna go with 3 as well, but I'm selfishly glad I don't have to make the decision.
Yeah, it's one where I'm not feeling comfortable, but I drafted him in a few spots, so I guess I got to hope that I get some of the rebound, the positive regression.
He had a 2-start this current week, but rainouts or just postponements, I guess apparently pushing the second, pushing it to this week or next week.
Now, Austin Gomber was the guy we kind of said, take a look for this week. Last week on the show, we said to keep an eye out. Now, at San Francisco, at Arizona, I love that 2-step for him. Chi Gonzalez, I just don't trust with the skills, but I think Austin Gomber has shown me enough to put him probably, I'm thinking I'm probably going to give him a 3 like Plesac, but maybe like a plus. Maybe I'll give him a 3.5. That's
okay, DVR. Clay. Yeah, that was, we used to do that. Yeah, actually, I spoke with DVR in the podcast.
Yeah, you were on their pod, right?
Catching up, yeah. Michael Beller is on paternity leave.
Oh,
congratulations, Michael, on the birth of you and your wife's newborn. Gomber's a 3 for me. I like this one.
All right, I got 3.5. I'm going to put Todd 3, and then Chi, I'm going to say a 0, even though he's been okay. But these are 2 road starts.
If we're playing that game, I'm going to say minus 0.5.
All right, I have time to note that on the sheet.
I have no confidence in Chi. And I'm sorry, I'm old. And maybe there's 4 people. Every time I just think of Les Nessman from WKRP when Chi Rodriguez or whatever used to pretend the golfer that was one of their running jokes. So it's Chi Gonzalez or something. Or if Les Nessman were to do this 2-start week.
3 ERA for him, but I'm not getting caught in that. Yeah, that'll definitely. Career 1.47 whip. That'll definitely hold. Now Carlos Rodon, I mean, is he got that refractor shine? Is he a 5 now?
Yes.
I think I'm gonna probably give him a 5.
Yeah, I think he's now worthy of a 5. He's my 8th ranked pitcher this week. I had to fine tune innings and dump in the latest starts, but real rough. He's my 8th overall this week.
Now for the Detroit Tigers, Spencer Turnbull made his debut this week, Wednesday's doubleheader. Got the win, so he was on the COVID list, but then turned loose right away. That's good to see. He allowed just 1 run over 5, 6 to 2 K to walk. It was against Pittsburgh. Keep that in mind. But Spencer Turnbull's kind of been a guy that maybe like Eno likes him or somebody likes him. So I've always kind of had my eye on Turnbull. Versus Kansas City at the Yankees. That second one probably keeps him down at like a 2, but maybe he's a guy you can get on the cheap this week and kind of wait and see.
Yeah, I agree. He's a 2, and I think he's a spin rate guy. I think if you go to the StatCast numbers,
that makes sense.
And I also recall Jeff Erickson doing a study and showing that Detroit is quietly working with pitchers with spin rate, and to keep an eye on that, especially with all their youngsters coming up. So yeah, I'm going to go with a 2 on Turnbull, and I'll check it, but I'm pretty sure he's a spin rate guy.
Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, definitely some people in the industry like him. I know he had that one year where he was like 2 and 17 or something, but he had like a sub-4 FIP or something.
Right.
So he's hasn't had the best supporting cast, but not a terrible pitcher. Jose Urena, though, I just don't like. And he's not a good pitcher, so I'm going to give him a 0. I just hate that he plunks around Acuna. Get over yourself.
Well, there is that. There is that for sure. And he looked decent yesterday, but yeah, you're right. I mean, there's nothing. Once in a while, whatever, blind squirrel, acorn. Yeah, it'll happen.
A real quick note before we move on: football season approaches. And you've got to check out these new best ball leagues on Underdog. Best ball is the ultimate test of your live draft skills since there's no in-season management. That's right. Draft your team, and Underdog automatically credits you with your best performing players every week. You don't need to play the waiver wire or worry about trades. It's just the draft. Who doesn't love drafting? In Underdog Best Ball, you can draft as many times as you want because you don't have to do any roster management, saving you loads of time. Underdog's Best Ball leagues are drafting right now, starting at just $3. Once the season starts, Underdog also has daily fantasy and an all-new Pick'em game. Go download the Underdog app now to get in on some best ball before the season starts. Enter promo code ROTOWIRE with your first deposit, and Underdog will honor a money-back guarantee during your first month. Love Underdog or get your money back with promo code ROTOWIRE. Search Underdog in your app store and enter promo code ROTOWIRE. So next up on the 2-start starters for the week of April 26th, Jose Urquidy, Cristian Javier. Javier was great the other day, and I think I benched him like an idiot because he was down in the minors when they just didn't need a 5th starter, or at the alt site, whatever. But then he came back and was great against the Angels. Struck out 9 too. So that was a missed opportunity on my part. Those unforced errors will burn you. But
well, yeah, you can't be called an idiot for putting a guy that was in the equivalent of the minors, and it was called up on a spot start. It was in the Angels.
Well, I think they kind of knew that he was going to be back. But yeah, I mean that's
maybe perhaps, but and then the Angels as well. They're not striking out, and they're one of the better teams against right-handed pitchers. Granted, it's early in the year; these numbers haven't settled. But to me that just shows it was even a better outing because it was against a team effective against right-handers. Cristian Javier, we're talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with Urquidy, he's kind of struggled a little bit. 5.14 ERA, 0-2. This team is just kind of hard to gauge right now just because they've had some big absences. They're still missing Altuve. But they've been pretty sloppy and just – I forget how many they've lost in a row. But I think the Astros may be in last place. Let me look that up. AL West, because they are in last place. They're behind the Rangers now, 8-10. Again, hard to gauge what this team truly is, but I still think they're going to be okay.
Oh, for sure.
Versus Seattle at Tampa Bay. I think these guys are both probably 3s. Maybe Urquidy 2 if you want to play it safe.
I like these. I think they're 4s, to be honest, with these matchups. The parks are good, and neither offense is terrible, but neither offense really scares me either. And I do think there's another level in Urquidy. I just think he has to. Let's go Javier 4, Urquidy 3.
Okay, nice. Okay, I got that noted here. 3. Again, we'll recap these at the end of the show here. For Kansas City, Brad Keller. It's been bad Keller so far. At Detroit, at Minnesota, you trusting him, or is he off your roster? Is long gone by now?
Now, was it Plesac? I said I don't have to make the decision. Well, I have to make it on Keller, and I have to make it on Keller, and I have to make it on Keller in a lot of places. Talking to Derek yesterday, DVR yesterday, asked me what mulligan do I want pitching, and it was Brad Keller. And part of it is because I'm the type that, and I think I mentioned it earlier, I don't like to bench guys until they get good, because that means you missed what got good. If you believe he's going to get good, I want him in the lineup. If I don't think he's going to get good, I want him off my roster. So I've absorbed Keller's. Actually, he had one good start after 2 terrible ones. It's like, okay, things are fine. And then he went out and got crushed by Tampa. So things aren't so fine anymore. So I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm pot committed, because when you draft Brad Keller, you are not pot committed. But, at Detroit, you kind of have to play it, and then maybe hope that Minnesota, maybe the game gets moved. He doesn't pitch a second game, or they don't hurt him too bad. But I have to use. I'm going to call it a 3, but I understand if someone's in the prove it to me mode.
Yeah, I think because of the matchups, I'm going to go 2. Otherwise, he'd probably be a 1. But he may be a guy I try to sneak through in a couple leagues and stream him. Not going to be willing to pay up too much, but he's at least given these matchups at Detroit, at Minnesota. Maybe I'll give Brad Keller one more chance. Now, the Angels, they have an off day, and of course, a 6-man rotation, so no 2-star starters for them. It was the regression monster caught Alex Cobb last night.
No thing. He had no thing.
Only 2 2/3. So those who went chasing that 10-star outing really got burned.
I still think over the long haul he'll be okay. But yeah, no, for sure. Last night is going to leave a mark.
Julio Urias, Walker Buehler, both easy 5s, right? Nothing really to get into.
Yes, sir.
And there's Trevor Rogers in the 5 now.
Yeah, I would say Buehler. Anybody was concerned, his velocity's down. Yeah, the Padres hit him last night, but man, he looks good. And Urias does too. Yeah, no, 5. Rogers, Trevor Rogers.
Yep.
Yes, he's a 5, but he's still young, and he's still susceptible, vulnerable to an occasional bad outing. But man, what we see out of him is definitely encouraging. And these aren't easy matchups.
No, they're really
with
not.
At Milwaukee and at Washington. These are not both good hitters, Parks, and good offenses.
Well, that Brewers offense doesn't really scare me.
Not yet.
Without Yelich. I mean, I guess I don't know if Yelich, he probably won't be back on Monday, but the American Family Field is nice. But
I'm still, once Colton Wong comes back, it's over. Look out National League, right?
And Colton Wong's back today, so that helps.
Helps me. I'm going to be putting in a bunch of lineups over the weekend.
Yeah, I got to plug him in too. I'll plug him in for like Jonathan Scope or somebody in a couple of weeks.
Well, that was my, the other question Derek asked. Please listen to the podcast anyway. We talked about more. My hitting mulligan was going into a draft predisposed to wait on second baseman and take 2 of Wong, Cesar Hernandez, and Jonathan Scope. It still may work out, but I got to get out of this mindset of predisposing myself to moves of this nature and potentially missing out on I don't know, Nate Lau, or another second baseman earlier. But hey, I'm going to get Hernandez and Wong later. So I think that to do that as a incoming strategy, it's one of my biggest faults. It's always a different incoming strategy every year, and I thought I was over it. I was like, no, this is going to be my exception. One of those guys is going to do well. Well, we'll see.
I don't know who my hitting mulligan would be. Maybe Andrew Vaughn. Maybe like Elvis Andrews, who I drafted in a couple of leagues. He's got a few steals, but otherwise.
If Andrews ends up to be your worst call, it's a pretty good year though. Still, so.
Well, I probably won't. Just off the top of my head, a couple I wish I could have.
Well, no, I understand what you're saying, but
yeah.
if your 15th round shortstop is a bust, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, a lot of bigger busts in earlier rounds.
Yeah.
Trevor Rogers, ever since that first inning in his first outing of the year, he's been just lights out. He had some control issues, probably was a little nervous and had the jitters, and then ever since he buckled down in that outing, he's just been lights out. Daniel Castano, though, I know the results through 2 outings have not been bad, actually. He's gone 5 in each of them, but twice as many walks as K's so far. He's pitched 10 innings and has 2 strikeouts. So I can't even give Castano a 1.
No, it's a 0.
Yeah, I mean, need some K's from a streamer. Corbin Burnes is an easy 5 and maybe like a top 5 pick if you're redrafting today. Just off the charts.
5.5.
Yeah, he's a monster, man. Still infinity K to walk.
Yeah, I tweeted this. I don't know. I'm watching a ball game. You're watching a ball. I mean, every time I see a pitcher walk a guy, I said, "Yep, that's one more than Corbin Burnes has." And they've been saying that an awful lot.
That's just silly.
Yeah.
Adrian Houser, I think I have still in a couple leagues versus Miami versus the Dodgers. Maybe I'll roll the dice in a couple leagues. Maybe I'll cut him in a couple leagues. So I'm thinking like a 2 for Houser.
Yeah, I'll go with 2.
Yeah, I'm a little scared there. Now the Mets have 2 off days and new 2 starters for them. The Yankees, Corey Kluber, Domingo German, both guys have been brutal. At Baltimore, then versus Detroit. Versus Detroit's pretty good. And even though Camden Yards is a scary park to pitch in, that offense doesn't scare you much. But I wasn't on either of those guys. I'm not trying to take a victory lap on Kluber, but I just don't see any signs of him returning to anything close to what he used to be. So I'm going to give him like a 2.
I'm going to give him a reputation 3 or benefit of the doubt 3. I mean, I agree with you though. If he doesn't do it this week, this is the perfect setup. Now Baltimore's scary. It's still a little bit cool in ball. It's not. It hasn't gotten the warm and humid, which kind of really helps the park. Over the weekend, it's still going to be a little bit tepid, so it's a good time to go pitch in Baltimore. And they don't have Anthony Santander, right? He's out.
Yeah, that's a big loss for them.
Well, they brought up Austin Hayes should be a decent replacement. DJ Stewart as well, but and German, I still think he's in the getting the rust off, getting things back together. He obviously was over his head when he won all those games with a mediocre record, but at this point, what did I say? Kluber 3. I'm going to go 2 for German. Matchup based.
Yeah, I got a 2 for Kluber. I'll give German a 2 too. Kluber scares me, and I don't know what he is anymore. For Oakland, Sean Manaea, Frankie Montas. Manaea's been really good. Montas on the other side of that coin. At Tampa Bay versus Baltimore. For Manaea, I think I'll give him a 3. And then Montas, probably a 2, even though I'm sketchy on that one too.
Manaea is one of my top 10 this week, although I have to check the innings. I'm going to go with 4. And I am a pro Manaea fan. That's redundant or an oxymoron. I am pro Manaea, so it may be baked into the aggressive expectation. Man, again, if he doesn't get right this week, I'm concerned. I'm going to go with 3 with Montas, and he kind of needs to prove it to me this week against these teams. Yeah,
another guy where he had that one excellent year before the suspension, or an excellent 2 months before the suspension. Another guy that I just have trouble kind of nailing down exactly what he is a fantasy asset. For the Mets, Zack Wheeler, Zach Eflin, I think they're probably both fours. I mean, they're kind of Wheeler's kind of on that 5 border, but I think they're both probably fours for me. What say you, Todd?
Yeah, I mean, to me, Wheeler's a top 10 this week, but I'm going to go with a 4. I need to check it in again. He was interesting last year. He induced a lot more ground balls, but gave up strikeouts. At least the last time I looked, he was kind of combining the two. He was increased the strikeouts and continued to induce ground balls, which is a kind of a nice combination. I'm not one that considers ground ball rate a skill, because as we talked about, a fly ball pitcher can be successful in certain conditions. But, if my ground ball guy is also striking batters out, I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's a great combo. Ground balls and Ks. Good recipe for success. Now, the Pirates and the Padres both have only 5 games apiece next week. Hopefully you grab some Ryan Weathers, though, because it'll cost you if you want to add him this week, and he's still out there. Justus Sheffield for Seattle, at Houston, at the Angels. They have a full 7 games, so we do expect Sheffield to make 2. Goodyear last year, under the hood, it didn't look quite as good for him. And so far this year, I mean, the run prevention hasn't been as good. But, look at Sheffield. I'm a little nervous, but at Houston versus the Angels, I may give him a 2.
With you. I'm with you.
Yeah, that's a sketchy 2, but I'll give him a 2. For the Giants, Anthony DeSclafani versus Colorado at San Diego versus Colorado is just that's like a 6 matchup.
It's a layup, yeah.
At San Diego, not as great, but I'll probably give DeSclafani a 3.
I'm going to go 4. Again, it's probably because of my aggressive baseline expectation.
Nice. I'll look forward to seeing where Disco slots into your weekly pitcher ranks. For St. Louis, Adam Wainwright versus the Phillies at Pirates. That's a pretty good 2-step, but I'm looking at Waino, and he kind of was walking a fine line last year, walking a tightrope, and he's kind of slipping off that tightrope this year. So I'm going to give Waino a 2.
No, I agree. Early on, it looked like he was once again defeating the peripherals, but like you said, it's kind of catching up. Regression does not punch a time clock. Yeah. I think it's going to be punching Wainwright by the end of the year pretty hard.
I'm with you. Now,
I fascinated by his career. I love his career. And I've told the story before. I kind of hold a grudge that I was going to be on the air on Sirius XM Fantasy with Lar Michaels during the FSGA draft a few years ago, and standing there with Kay Adams waiting to be interviewed, and Kay whispers to us, Adam Wainwright's calling on the phone. He's complaining that he was complaining that he got picked too late. So we were bumped by Waino. And I think people realize that, first of all, I'm just tongue in cheek, but he's big into fantasy football, runs some fantasy leagues. I think he's really good for both the major league game and fantasy game in general.
Yeah, and what a great renaissance for him last year.
Sure.
Just we all knew that was going to be hard to sustain, and indeed it has been. Rich Hill, Michael Wacha. I have to admit, I tried to add Wacha in the stake league last night. I think I had like a $4 or $5 bid on him. Just because, I was sorting by Ks, and he showed up really high. He's got 21 Ks and 20 2/3 innings, 8 walks. Wacha's been okay.
Yeah, and when was the cut line and the Raz Slam Fab a couple weeks ago?
I missed it.
No. Well, hopes to hang in there. Then you can go goofy.
I'll do the second one. Yeah,
just gonna hang in there now.
Yeah.
I drafted my cut lines late. I did that one year too, and I drafted early, so I was done because I had so many guys to replace. If you draft late, you might be okay. But my point being, I liked what I saw back then, and I added him in a couple of cut lines at that point, knowing he's probably gonna get hurt, but even so. So I'm with you there. Rich Hill is kind of maddening. He's old. He's getting really. I should talk. I'm getting old too, but I don't think we can look at the name Rich Hill anymore. And it's a 5, it's a 4. He's getting knocked around a little bit. So Wacha, I'll give him both. I give Walker a 4. I'm that high on him, and Hill a 3.
Oh wow. Okay, I got Waka as a 3, but I'll let you a 4. And then Waka,
You
or
know
Rich
what?
Hill, you said who?
I'm going to go 3 just because he's not going all that deep into the ball games,
Mhm.
and he's boosted by home starts in a good pitching park, but he's still not going all that deep. So I'll go 3 for Waka.
Rich Hill, I got a 1. You say 2, was it?
I just said don't pay for the reputation, don't pay for the brand name, and there I just paid for it.
Well, I
But
mean,
I
that's not
have
at
him ranked
home a
really high.
couple.
I'm gonna
It's
go.
not,
Shoot, I'm gonna go 3. I mean, the numbers
okay.
say he's up there. I'm gonna go 3.
Well, I like that. Good to have a few
So
that
I just did what I did.
different.
Well, I guess the reputation says 4 or 5, and I said 3. So I'm not contradicting myself. Yes, I am. No, I'm not.
Well, for Texas, then Jordan Lyles, Mike Fultonevich. This team's terrible, and I don't really want anything to do with them. So I'll probably give them both like 1s, but I don't. Those kind of last priorities for me.
Well, Lyles gets a 0 for me. That's not hard. Fulte, such a tease. I'm gonna give Fulte. I'm gonna give him a 2.
Okay.
Decent. I mean, good offenses, but he's pitching at home.
That team's just laughably bad, though. I guess Adolis Garcia may inject some life
Maybe.
into them. Pretty bad.
Maybe.
Ross Stripling, then. Final 2-start starter. The Blue Jays have 2 off days next week, so they can go with Ross Stripling as a 2-start if they go without a 4th starter. I do think we see Alek Manoah somewhat soon. Maybe a guy, if you can stash minor leaguers, you want to grab. I did that in the stake league. Ross Stripling, though, I think, honestly, he's probably a 0. I mean, I'm not going to be looking to pick him
It's
up.
weird. I have him ranked high. I need to check that because it may be that I've got a reliever projection for him, and without getting too granular, I know you need to cut out and get to the other mic to do the serious show. Reliever skills are better. So if I readjust it to starter skills, I'll bet he drops way down to the 1 range. But I'm not starting him even so. But I'm going to give him a 1 and not start him even though I said 1.
Yeah, just the
My
weather.
show, I can do what I want. No, I just
the weather heating up. 2 starts at TD Ballpark. That rotation needs some help, man. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I guess maybe Nate Pearson's on the way. He's going to throw a sim game today.
That would help.
So maybe he's not too far off.
And they're getting a little bullpen reinforcement coming back as well, but even so, that pitching has just been demolished.
Yeah, so even with Pearson back, I mean, I do kind of like Manoah if you can grab him, but that's definitely one you probably have to be patient on. But we will review now our grades for all the 2-starter options for the week of April 26th. Merrill Kelly, I got a 1, Todd 2, Charlie Morton 4, Ian Anderson 4, Bruce Zimmerman 1, Dean Kremer 0, Garrett Richards, I say 2, Todd 3, Zach Davies, I say 3, Todd 1, Trevor Williams, I say 1, Todd 0, Tyler Mahle 4, Zach Plesac 3, Austin Gomber 3.5, Todd 3, Chi Gonzalez negative 0.5, Carlos Rodon 5, Spencer Turnbull 2, Jose Urena 0, Jose Urquidy 3, Cristian Javier, I say 3, Todd 4, Brad Keller, I say 2, Todd 3, Julio Urias 5, Walker Buehler 5, Trevor Rogers 5, Daniel Castano 0, Corbin Burnes a 5. That's like a gold refractor right there. Adrian Houser 2, Corey Kluber, I say 2, Todd 3, Domingo German 2, Sean Manaea 3, Todd 4, Frankie Montas, I say 2, Todd 3, Zack Wheeler 4, Zach Eflin 4, Justus Sheffield 2, Anthony DeSclafani, I say 3, Todd 4, Adam Wainwright 2, Rich Hill, I say 1, Todd 3, Michael Waka 3, Jordan Lyles, I say 1, Todd 0, Mike Fultonevich, I say 1, Todd 2, and then Ross Stripling 0. Todd, thank you for your insight. Anything else on your mind today?
No, hey, I get my second poke next Tuesday, so wish me luck.
That's awesome, man. Hope you don't have too many crazy side effects or symptoms after that second shot.
Well, the first one made me cranky. Oh, wait, no, that's just me in general. So
Yeah, I still am looking for mine. I know James said he's gonna have to drive to like Janesville or something.
Well, if you're going to go six
I
and a
haven't
half
been able to
hours
get
to
one.
a game,
Yeah, that's true. I should probably be willing to drive a couple hours if I need to. But I'm glad to hear you're getting vaxxed, and can't wait to talk again next week, Todd, and tomorrow on the MLB Network Radio as well. So thank you.
yes.
Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk soon on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast.
Please like our video and subscribe to RotoWire. Then go to rotowire.com/pod for a free 10-day trial.